we're going to look again at 8a, apply properties of positive and negative exponents. Now, let's just review a little bit about yesterday. Yesterday was day 1. And you remember we came up with a special rule. When I've got two numbers that have the same base, what do I do with their exponents? I add them. So this would be 3 to the 5th, and this would be 7 to the 8th. Okay, good. And then we went on and we simplified, and we did a couple more examples. This ends up being 5 to the 10th. What do I do here when my number is negative and in parentheses? Yeah, I still leave it negative, and I must include those parentheses, right? And then I get x to the 9th, because if there isn't a number there, a 1 is assumed, isn't it? Okay, so we talked about that yesterday, and then we had another rule, right? And when I have two exponents that are like right next to each other, they're like kissing, what did we decide to do? Multiply. We're going to multiply them. So this is 5 to the 6th and to the 14th, and now I got a negative 3. What do I have to make sure about this negative 3? It's in parentheses because they gave it to us in parentheses, right? All right, good. Today what we're going to do, right, you're going to notice that they look a little bit different. There's a little bit more going in those parentheses. There's a few more numbers. There's a few more letters, right? Okay, so when you have something like this, what you're going to do is it's almost like you distribute the 17, right? This ends up being 4 to the 17th times 16 to the 17th, and you're just going to leave it. They're just asking you, you know, kind of main idea, what do you do with those? Right. Let's go down and look at this one. Now, do you notice that the negative is inside the parenthesis? Do you see that? Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a negative 3 in parentheses, and I'm going to take this 2, and I'm going to distribute it amongst each one of those things inside the parentheses. So this is going to be negative 3 squared, r squared, s squared. You see that? And essentially what I'm doing is I'm multiplying. There's an imaginary 1 exponent on each one of those items. Now I'm going to go a little bit further. What's negative 3 in parentheses squared? It's going to be 9, and it's going to be positive 9. So this is 9. R squared, S squared, and I'm done. You okay? Yep. Why don't we use like a multiply sign? Well, when we simplify, we don't add the dots in between it or the multiplication signs in between it because it's not needed. It's like extra stuff. And so if they ask us to simplify it, if we don't need it, we get rid of it. That's a really good question. Okay, any other questions? All right, let's go to this last one. What do you notice about this 3 compared to the other 3? Right, there's a negative outside, and it's not included, is it? It's kind of like mom and dad on a date. They can stay outside the movie theater, but they're not coming in the movie theater with you. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so what you do on these is you take the negative, and it's going to go along for the ride, but it's going to stay out front. Right? And then I end up with 3 squared. Now I can put the 3 in parentheses if I want to. For right now, I don't have to, but some kids get kind of confused. So you can do that if you want to. And then r squared, s squared. Now in the final answer, the negative is still going to be there. It's going along for the ride. But what's 3 squared? 9. So 9r squared, s squared. So you'll notice the difference between the previous problem, the 9 is positive, and in the last problem, the 9 is negative. So that negative does make a difference. Questions? All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at this now. Notice that I got two exponents and they're next to each other, so like they're kissing, right? So what am I going to do with those? I'm going to multiply them, right? And I'm going to kind of distribute it, right? So this is going to be 2 to the 4th, because the exponent above the 2, since it's not there, there's technically a little 1 there. So 1 times 4 is 4. And then I get x to the 5 times 4 is 20. So I multiply them. Now we can even go a little bit further. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. So I get 16x to the 20th. Common mistakes kids make, they go 2 times 4 is 8. Remember, it's 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. Oh. Questions? All right, let's keep going. Okay, this becomes a little bit loaded. Notice that I got parentheses and I got an exponent on the outside. So they're like kissing exponents, right? So I'm going to get 3 to the 4th, because this is on the outside. And what I told the kids last hour is when you have this like that, if you want to circle it just to make sure that you distribute it, do that. I'm not saying you have to, but some students are getting confused. If you do that, that might help you, okay? And then I get y to the 12th times y to the 5th. Do one step at a time. All right, now, there's a trick with 3 to the 4th. You can go 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 times 3. There's another one. You got 4 3s, correct? What's 3 times 3? 9. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. Yep. So again, 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Yep. So I get 81, and it's going to be y to the 17th. Notice that they're not kissing, are they? They're not next to each other. So I'm going to add them. And you'll notice I have a few steps that we've talked about. You know, multiply it, see if you can multiply it. We're going to be reordering next, and then we add our exponents. Adding our exponents is kind of the last step. All right, let's take a look at this one. Notice that I have x squared. There's really nothing to do there, right? So I'm going to leave that. Times, okay, 3 to the 3rd. Yep. If you remember, there's that exponent on the outside. X to the 9th, because 3 times 3 is 9. And y to the 3rd. So you're going to distribute first or multiply. Now let's reorder. The number should come out front. So 3 cubed should come out front. And then the rest of the letters are usually in alphabetical order. That's how you see it a lot of times. So I'm going to go x squared, x to the 9th, y to the 3rd. Yep.
If there's 2 x's, you want the number one to lower exponent?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, that was a good question. So x squared, should that come before x to the 9th? It really doesn't matter. Okay. And then 3 times 3 is 27. So this is 27 x to the 11th, y to the 3rd. And you circle your final answer. Notice how I worked up and down. Working up and down tends to be a little bit better than working across. At least I find that a little bit, especially when you have more than just one step. Might be easier for you. Okay. All right, that's all I got for today. Any questions? Okay, your assignment then is going to be on page 492, same page as yesterday. I'm going to have you do 15 to 18, 28 to 38, 40, 41, 44, 45, 47 to 49. And again, it looks like a lot, but you're not graphing anything. The key to this is you do a bunch, check your answers. If it doesn't make sense, you ask. Then do the next bunch, check it. If you got questions, you ask questions, okay? All right, let's get started then.